How awful.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Tanya Lee.
Why did I say that so annoying?
Hi.
I'm Bee.
Are you weird?
No, I'm a normal.
Oh,
I am a normal.
I think that's kind of news.
Is that believable?
I can't say that's completely... Hi,
Hi.
here we are.
We're here.
We are officially in October. You have heard the first October episode. I hope you enjoyed.
It had some spooks.
It did.
It did.
I was still telling people about the Highgate vampire.
I know. I was getting texts from our friends that they loved the vampire story. So you did
That's
very
good.
well, friend.
I'm glad. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Did you guys buy merch yet?
I know my mom and sister-in-law did.
Who else bought merch? We want to see your How Awful t-shirts. Please show us your t-shirts on Instagram. And
I can't lie. I'm a little nervous about them buying things like the bucket hat and stuff that we didn't see for ourselves because the sweatpants were
I did.
so bad.
I think I did order the samples recently, so they should be here soon. I don't remember if I actually went through with the sample purchasing or not, but I think I was in the process of it. I either not checked out or didn't check out. I don't remember. I'll have to double check.
So just the mug, cute.
The mug is gone
Mug is gone.
because it was not cute.
Not cute. Got it. The t-shirt and the hoodie are great.
Yes.
The stickers are fun.
Yeah. The tote is cool.
The tote
There's a
is
few things on
cool.
there that are cute, but I definitely go for the t-shirt or the hoodie.
And size up, guys.
Yeah.
Size up, I would say. T-shirts are true to size. Hoodies are run small. So size up, for sure.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing for spooky season?
Yeah.
This is an important question.
We hit up Universal Horror Nights.
We did. We walked so much. It was 2 days ago, and my feet still hurt.
It was it was fun, but
It was
oh my
so
gosh,
fun, but
we
it was
are old.
We're old, and it was so packed. So if you live in the Los Angeles area and you're going to Horror Nights, I don't suggest doing it unless you're vaccinated, if I'm being quite honest, because they are sardines. They do not limit capacity. It is packed.
Yeah, but it was fun. We had a good group, and everybody
Yeah,
was. We had a couple scaredy cats, so we tortured them.
All boys.
All the boys.
Scaredy cats.
Yeah,
That was the best part of it.
yeah, it was a blast.
It was really fun. Let down by the Hill House maze.
Yeah, so they had a few cool mazes. They had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre maze, Halloween 4 maze, the Exorcist maze. I think was my favorite.
The Exorcist Maze was really cool because, okay, so the Exorcist Maze, you walk into one of the, it's all on the Universal Studios. So you walk into one of the, what was it, empty stages?
Yeah, it's like an empty stage.
And they had built the Exorcist house facade. So when you walk into the stage, you see the house. So you get super hyped because you're going to walk in the front door of the house and that enters the maze.
Right.
And for Halloween 4 maze, it was entering in a gas station.
It was cool,
That was really cool. But so we had high hopes for Hill House because it was super hyped. And it was a tent.
Yeah, it was not that
fun.
It
was a tent. It was a tent with some hallways.
Yeah, it was a letdown.
Yeah.
But the rest of it was really fun, and it was a fun experience.
Definitely.
If you do end up going, you're an LA native, we both highly recommend getting the Fast Pass. Otherwise, there's no point in going.
There's absolutely no point. You'll maybe do 2 mazes if you're lucky, because the lines are regularly 2 to 3 hours long. And then that'll be it.
Yeah.
Spend the money on the Fast Pass, and you get to do everything. And if it's you and 1 or 2 other people, typically you can get through the whole park plus rides in 2.5 hours.
True. But yeah, next time you hear from us, we'll have gone to Knott's Scary Farm.
Our first time.
Yeah. So we'll have a lot to say about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm excited. Well, I know you have a long one. I have a short one.
Yeah. So we should get to it, but we should pause for wine first.
Oh, yes. Coey.
We are drinking this evening a lovely Trader Joe's Sangiovese. I hope you ASMR freaks are enjoying that.
Don't call them freaks.
I gave you a lot.
I know, that's why I'm
I'm pretty sure it's fine.
Yeah, I think
it's
fine.
It's maybe. And we're good.
Okay.
We got big wine glasses.
So, as a reminder, we have some October spooky topics that are different from the normal topics that we have. I pulled a hometown murder.
Yes.
And
I was very interested in what you picked.
I was challenged in picking something very close to home.
Yes.
You said.
It's plentiful.
Yeah. Which I didn't want to pick downtown Chicago because I felt like downtown Chicago I would have so many obvious options.
Yeah.
that I was like, let's pick something that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah.
We have talked about it on the podcast.
We have.
Yes.
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, you know what it is. Ugh, I'm so sorry, guys. This one's a doozy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to begin.
Oh, poor girl. Okay. Go ahead.
After serving...
Oh, this is going to be heavy. Okay.
Yeah, this is going to be really heavy.
So trigger warning. I already know what this is.
Yes.
It's like a real life horror movie.
Yeah.
In life. And
here's the truth, though. I think we feel that it's more palpable to us because it's literally 5 minutes from where we grew up.
Yeah, like my parents couldn't sell their house for 6 years because this girl was murdered maybe a mile from, not even a mile.
No, probably more.
Probably about a mile.
I'll tell you exactly where she lives.
I know exactly where she lives because they hung up the stuff all year round and it ruined the sale of our house for 6 years.
Yeah.
So while we were very understanding to her parents, we got really annoyed after 6 years. But sorry, I won't spoil anymore. But
yeah. So I think for us, I
think for anybody, it's horrible.
I don't disagree, but I think we feel this harder than we would any other true crime story because
it made us feel afraid in our homes.
Yeah, because it was so. This is our true crime experience.
Yeah, for sure.
This is it. This is the only one I think I know of that like it was actually like somebody that went to our high school. And, you know. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Now that we've prefaced enough. After serving 8 years of his 11-year sentence for a robbery conviction in 2010, John Wilson Jr. was living in an apartment provided to him from his grandmother. The floor he slept on, yes, I said the floor he slept on, was covered in trash and bags of his own personal belongings. He would get up at 5:30 a.m. to work his custodial job at an office building in downtown Chicago. And he would be home by 5:30 p.m. every night, and his grandmother said that he would just come home, eat, and go to bed.
Okay.
Every single night. That was his life.
Okay.
Going to work, going home, going to bed. Just for context.
Right.
That's what he was up to.
He didn't seem like a troublemaker.
We don't have any information. Well, he was a troublemaker because he was literally just came out of jail.
What was he in jail for?
Robbery.
Okay.
Go figure.
Yeah.
We don't have any information on what led him to Indian Head Park, Illinois.
Yeah.
Which, for reference, Chicago, downtown Chicago is about 25 minutes east of Indian Head Park. So Indian Head Park, we call it the west suburbs because it's west of Chicago. So it's very, very weird that he wound up here. There's still no understanding as to how he got there.
Yeah, that's really far from Chicago.
And there's not like a close
not really far.
There's not like a train stop nearby.
There's not Indian Head Park. There's Western Springs.
Yeah, mind you, he didn't drive, so there's not a train nearby. There's not like a.
He had to have walked. The closest would have been LaGrange or Western Springs.
Maybe, but even then, like I don't know how he got here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's just
really,
say that.
really
That's
random.
the biggest mystery to me about this case is I don't understand how he got here and why this house was chosen.
Because if you know where this house is, oh man, maybe Downers Grove? No, that's too far. It's kind of like you can see it off of a main road, but you still have to go down like
it's kind of on a highway,
suburban. Yeah, like it's off that. It's
off 294.
Yeah,
in Plainfield. It's like where
it's an interstate.
It's where Plainfield Road crosses over that 294 bridge, which is why that bridge.
Where the house is from, like you can see it, but you have to like go off on suburban roads
off
to
of
actually,
Plainfield.
access it.
Yeah, so, I'm not going to say what street it's on, but it is.
No,
there is a street that's right next to Plainfield Road that it comes off of. So we don't have any information on what led him there, but. In addition to robbery, Wilson was previously convicted for carjacking, spitting on a prison corrections officer, possessing a stolen vehicle, drug dealing, and he was also an addict.
Okay.
He had been in and out of the justice system for nearly 2 decades. Prosecutors say he has only spent 3 years out of prison since 1991.
Okay.
He was released on November 16th, 2010. Close to a year to the date, on October 27th, 2011, Wilson was spotted in Indian Head Park by 3 witnesses between 2:45 p.m. and 3:30 p.m.
So for reference, this is 5 years after you graduated high school, 6 years after I graduated high school.
Yeah, we were in college. No, we were
out of college.
Actually,
you were in LA. I was
moved.
living at home with my parents.
If it's October 2011.
Oh yeah,
You
I just moved like a month earlier. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right, because my parents' house wasn't for sale yet.
Yeah, so we were living in Los Angeles when this happened.
Okay,
so Kelly O'Laughlin, a 14-year-old Lyons Township High School freshman.
She was really cute, guys.
Yeah. Got off the bus from school around 3:40 p.m. She entered her home, where she was confronted by Wilson mid-robbery. He had entered the home by wrapping a rock in a knit cap and shattering the dining room window. Kelly was stabbed immediately upon entering through the front door, and she was dragged from the family room to the kitchen. Authorities say she had been stabbed several times in the neck, chest, and the back by a roughly 13-inch butter knife.
Oh my God.
Sorry, not butter knife.
Paring knife?
A butcher knife.
Oh.
Pulled from the butcher block in the kitchen. Some reports say it was an 8-inch, and reports from the court documents say it was 13-inch. So I'm going to go with the court.
Either way, it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the court documents, which during the case, the prosecuting lawyer held up a ruler and was like showing where, like, how, because basically the defense's case was it was a suicide. And she stabbed herself. So he was using a ruler to show, like, this, like, it's not really possible that she could have stabbed herself.
How insulting.
So I'll kind of get to why that was.
Okay.
The house was ransacked, and a bowl filled with foreign coins had been stolen. Wilson also stole Kelly's cell phone and an iPod Touch. He was spotted at 7 p.m. at a 7-Eleven store in Willow Springs, the town adjacent to Indian Head Park, for reference.
Yeah, you literally cross 1 yard from my parents' house and you're at that 7-Eleven.
Yeah, literally. He called a taxi at the 7-Eleven that took him and dropped him off at the CTA Orange Line near Midway International Airport.
Even that walk is long from her house to the 7-Eleven. Jesus.
Note that none of his clothes had any blood on it.
I was going to say, like, how is he not covered in blood?
He was not. Which is a weird detail to the case, but I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
He paid the driver using various foreign coins that were missing from the O'Laughlin home. So that was one thing that was used against him in court. Brenda O'Laughlin, Kelly's mother, is the one who discovered her body when arriving home from work not long after the murder occurred. She called 911, assuming that Kelly had stabbed herself, committing suicide. So this is why this was used in the case, because I think she just couldn't fathom that somebody had broken into the house and stabbed her, and the weapon, the knife, was laying right next to Kelly.
Yeah, well, I had heard, and I don't know if you ran across this, that she had come home sick from school. Like, she was home like a little earlier.
I didn't hear
but the timing
she came home at 3:40, so I think it
for
would
when
have
school is out.
Yeah,
school is out at like 3:15. So
I mean, here's the thing. I think I heard a lot of things too that I did not read.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into them because they were just hearsay and they're not true.
And we're not going to insult this poor 14-year-old girl and her parents, but
so I think that's something that I learned when it comes to crime in your hometown is so many things are said.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors
that aren't true, and I don't think it's important to point this out, but I think because of the neighborhood that we grew up in, it's predominantly a white neighborhood.
Yeah.
And John Wilson was a black man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I remember being really let down when I saw that.
Yeah, because, the neighborhood is already very, very privileged.
Indian Head Park is very privileged. Very, I won't lie to you.
Yeah. So there was another reason why this case was so difficult was, I think, the race aspect of the case was very difficult because there is no denying that he's guilty.
Right. And
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I think when you see a black man on trial for a young white girl's murder, you want to believe that the black man did not commit this, that it's just the justice system is against him. And that is the case that the defense tried to bring to the trial. But there was just so much evidence against him that there was no way it wasn't him.
Yeah.
The only weird thing that I will admit is the fact that he didn't have any blood on him when he was at 7-Eleven. And there's camera footage of that. But the, oh my God, what are they called? The people that do the autopsy?
Coroner.
The coroner said that her wounds wouldn't have generated like blood splatter from like a horror, like you've seen horror films. Yeah. Like it wouldn't have done that. So he wasn't hitting arteries. Yeah. So he had stated he wasn't surprised that he wasn't covered in blood.
Okay.
But hearing that she was dragged from one room to the next, that's where I'm a little bit confused. Unless he had something on that he got rid of.
I'm dextering here right now. Okay, so I'm going through it. So if he stabbed her as soon as she walked through the door, it was probably in her stomach or her chest.
Yeah, or her neck, because that's where she was hit.
Yeah. And when he dragged her, he probably dragged her by her wrists.
Yeah, true.
So that's not where she's bleeding.
Yeah.
So there was probably a trail of blood, but it would make sense why it wouldn't be on him.
Yeah.
Because where he was dragging her from, it's not like he was going from under her shoulders or something. Right. He was probably dragging her from her arms.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where it gets kind of crazy.
Yeah, this is the part I hate so fucking much.
The day after Kelly's murder, Wilson used Kelly's cell phone to send her mother a series of disturbing text messages to taunt her.
That's putting it lightly.
The first one was, "What, Brenda?" The second one was, "Love your pic." Then he said, "She wanted me to tell you something before I killed her." Then he said, "Think I'm in love with you, Bren." And she was not responding to these text messages. So he said, "You got 2 minutes to text me before I break this phone." To which Brenda replied, "Who are you and what do you want?" Mm-hmm. His answer was, "You will know soon when I come see you."
Oh, God.
He also had logged into Kelly's Facebook, responding to people's sympathetic messages saying, "Next time, the bitch will do as she's told."
This is what I mean by this is straight out of a horror movie.
Yeah, this is terrible. Police were able to track Wilson's personal cell phone in tandem with Kelly's cell phone, which is more evidence against him. There was also DNA evidence in the knit hat that he used to break into the house.
Right.
And there was also...
it was a big house. That was obvious from the street. So that might have been what made him target it. Yeah. As you could see it from this overpass, and it was a big house.
Yeah, so he's probably like, oh, there's money in that house, which he only really stole. Like, the only, like, valuable thing he stole was foreign coins.
He probably, after he killed Kelly, was like, I gotta get the hell out of here. Yeah.
I think she interrupted him, and he maybe had already had the coins. He apparently paid for the taxi with these foreign coins.
Right. Probably get rid of them.
Yeah. Ugh, anyway.
I know.
So they were able to track him, and he was arrested November 2nd, 2011, which was about like 5 days after the murder happened, in the south side of Chicago. So the good news is he wasn't really out and about that long before he was arrested. Yeah,
it was a little white girl that was murdered, so they worked overtime to get that done.
Especially a little girl in the suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah, and as soon as they ID'd it as a black man, they worked overtime to get him.
Wilson was tried and found guilty for robbery and the murder of Kelly O'Loughlin and was sentenced to 160 years in prison, the maximum sentence he could have received. Note that the death penalty was abolished in Illinois earlier that year.
You got lucky.
Otherwise, he would have been qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. Murder a 14-year-old girl, yeah.
Yeah. The jury only deliberated for 2 hours, so it was a pretty quick decision. Brenda, her mother, spoke during the trial and said, quote, "I so wish that I had been the one who walked into our house that day. I cannot even begin to imagine or endure her last moments of life with that evil man. Kelly was a true innocent victim. What physical threat could she have been?"
Yeah.
End quote. Which, like, to me, I'm like, that is the truest thing I've ever heard. Like,
tie her up or something.
Like,
she wasn't going to.
She literally wasn't going to do anything to you. So, like, why?
I wonder if he heard somebody coming in and grabbed the knife and didn't see who it was before he stabbed.
Which, I mean, regardless, like, he didn't hesitate.
No.
To kill her.
No.
Wilson pretended to be asleep during much of the hearing.
Oh my God.
Except to make occasional outbursts. He also taunted Brenda.
Yeah, he was real into that.
Yeah, after she spoke, saying with a smile, quote, "We was in a relationship, Bren. What happened? Are you serious?" End quote. So after she said that.
Oh my God.
That's what he said to her.
Yeah.
Wilson did not make any other official statements. However, when he was asked a question by the judge, he said, quote, "Sir, I do not know who you are. I do not know why I am here, and the voices told me not to talk to you." End quote.
Do you think he was, like, faking?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. So I have a few thoughts on this. One of which was a very, very small detail that I found was that he was a drug addict.
Right.
And he had been in and out of the system for 20 years, right? Since 1991. I think this is a huge failure.
Yeah.
Of the justice system.
They didn't rehabilitate him. They made him worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to say that I shouldn't hold him accountable for his actions. He is accountable for what he did. He clearly found joy in what he did.
Right. But he amped up to if he was in jail, then he should have been getting better, not worse.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been amping up to murder.
There should be and there are, but there should be more programs in place.
Yeah.
That help people rehabilitate before they are released to the public.
Yes.
Because
they don't.
I don't know that this would have happened this way.
Yeah. They just cage them and taunt them and make them more murderous, if anything.
So I blame John Wilson Jr., but I also blame the system.
Yeah.
And I think, especially because he was a black man, they were not going to help him.
Right.
They want to keep him in the system.
Right.
So they don't give a shit about taking any initiative to aid him in being better or healing from his clear illness.
Right.
His family spoke out and said that he has always been very mentally ill and that they were not really surprised.
That it led to this.
Yeah. They were obviously heartbroken.
How he got there.
But, like, yeah, that's...
Maybe he called a cab?
He must have.
But, like, to where?
But why? Why there?
Yeah, I know.
What did you hear? I'm thinking, like, maybe somebody...
Maybe you heard Indian Head Park was, like, an affluent community. And
yeah, because he worked in some kind of office building downtown Chicago. Yeah. Maybe somebody that worked there lived
and he wanted to rob them, and he saw this house was bigger, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. So, like, there's a lot of ways that it could have gone that way. The defense...
like, the only thing that was around there was that, like, jewel...
Yeah, there's not...
And that's it.
There's not really much... Especially in 2011, there wasn't really much going on over
there. There was literally just the jewel.
Yeah, so...
Jewel's a grocery store.
But the defense did say that they were accusing him of this because there was a black man. Their case was like...
Sounds like it was crap.
They were trying to use that as a reason... as to why he was being accused. Yeah. But there was so much evidence against him that I was like, you can't really use that in this case.
They were grasping at straws.
One of the theories that they had was that you didn't even look into the landscaping company. And I was like, the landscaping company?
Yeah.
Like, you're just being racist.
Yeah.
Like, because...
Look into the Latino men that come to your house.
Yes, because the landscaping company was a Latino company. And I was like, are you freaking serious right now? You're just, like, arguing racism with more racism?
Right.
Like, this is the most suburbs of Chicago thing I've ever heard in my life.
Truly. It is highly unlikely that the nice gentlemen that don't talk to you and come to your house once a week, and who are very used to you and you're very used to them, are going to murder your child.
No, like, that's not going to happen.
No.
There was also, like I said, the theory that she had committed suicide. Which,
no.
And they also thought that the police staged it to look like a robbery so that they could arrest
oh my God.
him. And that...
Seriously, straws.
Which, like, that does happen.
It does. Cops are
we have
dirty.
Definitely researched cases where that it looks that way and it seems that way. But I think particularly the cell phone evidence is what nailed him.
It's that detail that makes me sick to my stomach.
And the fact that he basically corroborated that dialogue in the courtroom in person.
Yeah.
That to me is like, that was your nail in your coffin.
Yeah.
But he also apparently made one phone call.
With her phone?
When he was arrested. Mm-hmm. And he had like a Cricket phone.
Yeah.
You know, those like Cricket like flip phones? Burner phones. And he said... Whoever he called, he said, come get my phone. They'll be able to track where I was.
Okay.
Somebody come get my phone. They'll be able to track me. But regardless, that could work for like, that could...
He could have left it somewhere.
And it also could be like, he could be innocent and say, look, they're going to track that I was in the neighborhood because I'm probably the only black man in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I find interesting too, is that the 3 witnesses noticed him because he was a black man and they were like,
yeah.
They're going to lean into the stereotype of, oh, he must be dangerous. And unfortunately, in this case, he was.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily obviously mean...
It just raised...
That, their racism...
Concern. Because they were like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if this was in any of your research, but I remember this, like, hurting. Because she died before the holidays. Mm-hmm. And when I came home for Christmas... her classmates, they had like this huge tree on their yard and their classmates had decorated it with pictures of her.
Yeah. They did all sorts of things. I remember.
Yeah. They were always like changing the sign, like Justice for Kelly was like on that overpass fence.
Yeah.
They would do it with like cups.
They also...
We love you, Cal. It was always like something, but it like the reason I was like, is because they literally kept this up for years and years and years and years. And I know it was a memorial to their daughter, but it did greatly decrease the value of homes.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, no, this is not for my parents at all. But I get like the frustration, like after a while, you're like, we get it.
Yeah.
This is horrible. How are you not moving on when every day you have to drive past this and see this?
They had they had created a memorial, like a foundation for her. And they funded, I believe, 18 students
going to college.
That's great. For like underprivileged kids that couldn't afford college. So they did, some good with it. And then they also had like a run for her, like a marathon for her.
I knew about that.
At LT.
What's crazy?
LT was our high school. That's where she went to high school.
LT.
For reference. I say LT, but it means Lions Township
High School. There's a lot of LTs. What is crazy to me is they didn't move. They stayed in that house.
Yeah.
How? I would never be able to walk in that house.
I totally went on Google Maps
and looked at the house.
It's just like it has like a eerie feeling.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely does. It looks like a horror movie house, like those really nice mini mansions.
Yeah.
That people get murdered in.
Yeah.
And
I was conflicted about telling this because of so many reasons why this case in itself is very conflicting, and it makes me feel a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But it is the most hometown murder that I could ever come up with.
I figured you were going to do Kelly O'Loughlin, or I thought you were going to do, I think he was a mayoral candidate who killed his wife.
That was another one I was looking at, but there wasn't a lot of research on that.
Yeah, there wasn't.
There wasn't a lot on Kelly either.
No.
So
but we knew a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and my sources were honestly just a bunch of Chicago news stations, like ABC Chicago, NBC Chicago, CBS Chicago, and then multiple articles from those three.
So what's crazy is sidebar, little personal horror story, I guess. What's crazy is my parents moved to Indian Head Park as like their come up. That was like their Jefferson's moment.
Yeah.
They were finally making good money, and my dad built this house for my mom, and it was his love letter to her. It had everything in it that she ever wanted in a house. And he never ever planned on selling it, so he didn't necessarily care about its location in Indian Head Park. That being said, he bought it literally across the street from the mental health facility.
Yes.
So it was like a senior living facility that also housed mentally unwell people. Mm-hmm. These are not criminals. They were just people who were too mentally unwell to be at their homes. They needed around-the-clock care.
Yeah.
You could literally see it from my front window. And this is a one-level house. My bedroom window was very big and very much facing that building. And they weren't great at keeping them in the building. So
they would wander.
Over to my street.
Remember. Yes.
Yes. And some of them very friendly. Like would literally just like bark at the dogs while they were walking.
Yes.
But there were two instances. One instance, the guy walked into a woman's house. She had her garage. She was unloading groceries. He walked into her house and started yelling at her that this was his house.
Yeah.
And she had to call 911 on him. He didn't hurt her, but obviously that's still very scary. Another instance, this actually happened to one of our friend's sisters. Yeah. She was getting out of her car, and one of them was roaming around and came up on her, got her keys from her, started stabbing her with her keys.
Yes.
Stabbed her, I think, 17 times with her keys, raped her, and she was left for dead. I mean, at that point, he had stabbed her in so many places, she was losing a lot of blood. Mm-hmm. And she dragged herself into her home and called 911 and thankfully survived it.
I honestly forgot about that.
Yeah. So that all happened before I decided it was a good idea to move back home for a few months and live alone in this house, in this big house across from the mental facility, with all the windows directly that you could access directly to. Super fun times.
Yeah.
Super fun times. We had a very good security system.
Thankfully.
Yeah, but long story short, this love story house my dad never wanted to sell. He ended up getting a job in Tennessee after living there for, 5-6 years, not even that long.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't sell it. And then they couldn't sell. My parents lived in Tennessee for 7 years, unable to sell this house. They rented it for a while. My dad died. We still hadn't sold this house.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling it on his birthday.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
He would have been like, are you serious?
What was crazy is my mom never reads her horoscope, right? And she read her horoscope that month. And it was like, you'll see financial success in housing is what it was.
What?
And then our house sold on his birthday. Crazy. As and it was right when we were really hitting a financial hardship.
Yeah.
And it was my dad was very much it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I've got this. Money magically appeared. We said he was in the Southern Mafia because we would go from broke to money out of nowhere. Still don't know. Stocks. He had a lot of stocks.
He would probably sell, yeah.
He would sell his stocks. But it always looked like it was Southern Mafia. That's what we always said. And that just seemed like another no big deal, I've got this moment.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. But anyway, yeah. That hit very close to home.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, literally.
So, sorry.
Sorry we let you down with a 14-year-old girl's murder. She's very, very cute. She was this tiny, tiny, tiny little blonde girl.
We'll post a picture of her in honor of her.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm ready.
This is a doozy, guys. This is a long one.
Remind us what your topic.
I had hometown lore.
Archer Avenue.
Archer Avenue. That's what it was. I went with hometown lore. But yeah, it's Archer Avenue. So we're just going to travel about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from Kelly O'Loughlin.
We're just in the suburbs of Chicago today.
Yeah, to Archer Avenue. Actually, it's much further than that because this part of Archer Avenue is further.
I know what this is.
You do? Yeah. So. Yeah, I have to tell this story. Yes. You know I do.
This is a good one.
But it got so much more, there's so much to it that I had no idea, which made it so fun. Okay. So I went with hometown lore because there is lore attached to Archer Avenue that I'm sure most of you haven't heard. Maybe some of you have. So
excited.
Just southwest of Chicago sits Chet's Melody Lounge, a suburban dive bar on Archer Avenue. The locals ignore the Bloody Mary that is set out at the end of the bar every single night. Those who know the legend come to play the Ballad of Resurrection Mary on the bar's jukebox.
Ugh.
Across the street sits Resurrection Cemetery, home of Resurrection Mary.
You guys have no idea how good this is.
This is really good. Okay, so the legend goes that young men on a night out dancing at the O. Henry Ballroom, later the Willowbrook Ballroom, which was literally around the corner from
we could have walked there,
where we lived when we were neighbors. Mm-hmm. Now it's now burned down.
Yes,
and now it's torn down. It's gone.
It's gone completely.
It's gone.
Oh my god.
So they would meet a young blonde woman with whom they danced and enjoyed their evening with. She would request
She would request
marriage, flowery.
Flowery.
She would
flowery.
Flowery. Wait, try it.
Flowery?
No. No. Flowery.
Christ almighty.
Try it again.
English is my second language.
You got this. I believe in you.
Flowery.
No.
Flowery. I don't like it in my mouth.
No, it's hard for you. Okay. She would request a ride home. She would direct the men to the cemetery only to disappear from the car entirely when reaching the gates.
Yes.
Sometimes the young men would be capable of coaxing the home address of the girl from her and would go to it after she disappeared to ensure she got home safely, only to be met by the homeowner informing them that the girl died in a car accident years earlier.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love this story so much.
As dance hall encounters with this phantom partner multiplied, they seemed to center on the O. Henry, and it was here that Mary forged her reputation. But it was on Archer Avenue itself in the dark hours of the morning where she made her biggest impact. Mm. Mary first appeared to unsuspecting Southwest Side drivers on Archer in the 1930s as well, when late-night revelers complained to the police that a woman had tried to jump on the running boards of their cars as they made their way home after a night of dancing. So she would try and jump on their cars. Oh, imagine a woman just jumping on your
Mary,
car.
Sit down.
Calm down.
Hey, you know what? It's not time to jump on cars.
Uncool, Mary.
Also, it's not time to disappear inside of them.
No.
Maybe just don't. Just, you know
don't
what?
Don't do it.
Just stay home, Mary.
Stay home, Mary. Other Archer Avenue drivers have been surprised by a beautiful young woman who will simply open the car door and climb in at red lights. Directing the driver.
Men are so dumb.
You know how I was terrified of that happening my entire, driving life in Chicago. Every time I was on I traveled on Archer Avenue all the freaking time. Every red light I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God. True, I wasn't a man.
She only did this to men, right?
True, yeah, it was only men. So, yeah, she would climb in, directing the driver to proceed up Archer Avenue, where she disappears in the usual way at the cemetery gates. Some bewildered drivers have even watched as she runs right through the lock gates and into the darkness beyond. So just right through them.
Yeah.
At other times, drivers have watched a woman in a flowing white dress walk along the roadside and then vanish as if switched off like a light. I've been afraid of that. Because as you know, I see people standing in my peripheral vision while driving sometimes.
Totally normal.
Very scared of that.
Oh my God, wait, look at Izzy. She's like perfectly on the blanket.
Oh, she folded. She baby.
Izzy.
She baby.
You little ball. Why are you sleeping on the job? Let's get off the table.
He's fine. In some of the most harrowing incidents, the woman has been struck while bolting in front of moving cars. So she's running in front of moving cars.
That's
so
good.
Imagine you just see a woman run in front of your car, and then you hit the woman, and then the woman isn't there. I don't like it. So bleeding in the road after these crashes. So she's bleeding in the road after these crashes. She has been known to dematerialize before or during approaches by would-be rescuers. So you hit her, you see her lying bleeding in the road, and then she just goes, poof.
What is that again? Sounds like alien stuff.
Yeah, no. So who is Resurrection Mary?
Yes, tell me, who is she? I don't really know.
Yeah, there's a few different things. So this is what took up most of it. So some researchers speculate that this mystery woman heads for one grave among thousands at the 475-acre burial ground, site number 9819, section MM.
This is very specific.
Yeah, because they're the way that cemeteries are blocked off is in like meets and bounds type. That doesn't make any more sense, but it's sections.
It's like pretend it's a longitude and latitude, but with cemetery numbers.
Absolutely. So,
gotcha.
The grave was that of a young Polish woman, Mary Bregovi. Records indicate that Bregovi was killed in a car accident in 1934, allegedly on her way home from a dance at the O'Henry. But attempts to link this Mary with the resurrection legend has turned up pretty empty-handed. The evidence begins with the following report, which appeared in the Chicago Tribune on March 11th. Happy birthday, Mom, 1934. Girl killed in crash, Miss Marie Bregovi, they spelled her name wrong, it's Mary, not Marie, 21 years old, 4611 South Darnan Avenue, was killed last night when the auto in which she was riding cracked up at, word missing, Street and Wacker Drive. John Riker, 23, of Park Ridge, suffered a possible skull fracture and is in the county hospital. John Thole was the driver of the car. Miss Virginia Rosansky, 22, was shaken up and scratched. Wow. The scene of the accident is known to police as a danger spot. Thole told police he did not see the L substructure. So this L was our like train. Okay. Yeah.
They got hit by a train.
No, I don't know what a substructure is.
I don't either.
Yeah.
What that mean?
I don't know what that means. So a close friend of
Be an assistant. Tell us what does
a substructure mean?
You're just licking your chest.
I think it means like a station.
Sure.
But that doesn't make any sense either. Okay. A close friend of Bregovi's discovered in the mid-1980s that her late girlfriend's name was being connected with the famous Phantom. She went on to describe the fateful day of the accident to an understandably eager reporter. According to Vern Ratakowski, Chicagoans have names, guys. This is immigrant city.
Yeah. There are a lot of Polish people there.
Polish, Croatian, a lot. Who was interviewed by the Southtown Economist on January 22nd, 1984. The two young women had planned to go shopping on March 10th, 1934, near 47th Street and Ashland Avenue. The girls accepted a ride to the popular shopping district from two young men who Bregovi had met.
Don't do that.
Yeah. But Ratowski became irritated with the young men, who she remembered as wild boys. The girls left the men's car while still some distance from their destination, but not before Bregovi made a date for that night. On their way home, Bregovi criticized Ratowski's unfriendliness and her disapproval of Bregovi's taste in men. Nonetheless, Ratowski continued to express her dislike of their latest escorts and cautioned Bregovi about her plans for that night. Determined to keep her date, Bregovi left her girlfriend for the day and went home. Ratowski stayed home that Saturday night and was awakened the next morning by her mother, who informed Ratowski that Bergovie had been killed in a car accident in the Loop sometime during the evening. We used to live in the Loop. Bergovie's parents would learn that although their daughter had been sitting in the back seat before the time of the accident, she was persuaded by her girlfriend to switch seats, since the latter was not getting along with the driver. Described by Ratowski as an agreeable and personable young woman, Bergovie was happy to oblige. Because of that congeniality, she was thrown through the passenger window when their car struck one of the L-beams of the downtown elevated structure. Sorry, one of the I-beams.
It's a structure underneath.
One of the downtown elevated structure. Oh, so they hit the L-beam.
The substructure is the structure underneath ground.
Okay, so
look at us, brains.
Look at us. 3 days later, Mary's Polish and Czechoslovakian... What'd I say?
Yep.
I said Croatian, not Czechoslovakian. A lot of those too. Polish and Czechoslovakian parents buried their daughter at Resurrection Cemetery. Since Bergovie was killed in downtown Chicago, probably at Lake Street and Wacker Drive, it is highly doubtful that this Mary was on her way home from any Southwest Side ballroom, and most definitely not on the road outside the legendary cemetery. This Mary, according to the records of the Satala funeral home from which Bergovie was buried, was a young factory worker who died in the ambulance on the way to Iroquois Hospital, then on North Wacker Drive. Yeah. So old newspaper interviews with Satala suggested one obvious reason why Bergovie was pegged as the famous phantom, despite having the wrong hair color and style, the wrong clothes, and regardless of her dying in the wrong place. Nearly 50 years ago, a caretaker at Resurrection phoned Satala and told him about a ghost that had been walking the cemetery grounds. In the caretaker's opinion, the ghost was Bergovie's. Resurrection Mary is described as fair-skinned and blonde, wearing a gauzy white dress and white dance shoes. According to Ratowski, Bergovie loved to dance, but she also had short, dark hair, a far cry from the flaxen fantasy described through the years by Mary's various escorts.
Right.
In addition, the late John Satala, the undertaker who prepared Bergovie's body and once described Mary as a hell of a nice girl, remembered that the eternal attire was, in fact, an orchid-colored dress, not a white one.
Okay.
Far more compelling is the connection solidified through the rigorous research of I'm going to mess this up. These names. Andre Jasich. Andre Jasich.
Yeah.
Andre Jasich.
I'm going to commit to that, too.
Okay. Of Summit, Illinois. Already familiar with the story, Frank became swiftly smitten with the tale, finding that a number of his fellow parishioners at Summit St. Joseph Catholic Church had more than a nodding acquaintance with the local legend.
Oh.
These parishioners turned up many different theories of who Mary is.
Many.
Let's
dive in. Do you have them all?
Yes, I do. Claire and Mary Rudnicki, friends, neighbors, and former St. Joseph parishioners, told Andre Jasich, Frank,
let's call him Frank,
that Resurrection Mary could be traced to the 1940s when a young Polish girl crashed near Resurrection Cemetery at around 1:20 a.m. after she took the family car to visit her boyfriend in Willow Springs.
Hey!
According to this version of the story, the girl was buried in a term grave at Resurrection. Andre Jasich wonders why a couple that well off enough to own a car in the 1940s would need to bury their daughter in a term grave.
What's it?
A term grave is basically like a temporary grave.
Oh, interesting.
Because they can't afford to bury her in a plot yet.
Oh.
So they have to bury them somewhere, so they bury them in a temporary grave. Adding to the explanation is another parishioner, Ray Van Ort, who tells how he and his bride-to-be were the first witnesses at the scene of an accident on Archer in 1936 when a black Model A sedan collided with a wide-bed farm truck at 1:30 a.m. According to Van Ort, of the two couples in the car, only one person survived, a girl who was badly hurt. Both men and another girl perished. Today, Van Ort is convinced that this was the accident that killed our would-be Resurrection Mary.
Gotcha.
Still, another parishioner claims that the wayward wrath was, in life, Mary Miskowski of the South Side Chicago neighborhood of Bridgeport. In this narrative, Miskowski was killed crossing the street in late October in the 1930s on her way to a Halloween party. That one's just fun.
Yeah, I like that one.
After pondering the variety of accounts, combing early editions of the local papers, and checking with funeral directors and cemetery managers, Frank came to believe that the ghost known as Resurrection Mary is a spiritual counterpart of the youngest of all the candidates, a 12-year-old girl named, surprisingly, Anna Norkis.
So not Mary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary Bregovi and Anna Norquist were the two names I always heard growing up associated with Resurrection Mary.
I honestly never heard any names.
You just knew the legend.
I knew the story of Resurrection Mary, but I didn't know the origins of who she was.
Right.
Or could be.
Right.
So this is interesting.
Okay, so born in Cicero, Illinois in 1914, Norquist was given the name of Ona, Lithuanian for Anne. In that era, it was not the custom to christen infants with two names. Like you had your christening name. Do you remember what it was? No idea.
I didn't have a christening name.
Didn't you have to pick a name?
For my confirmation.
Confirmation, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, Joan.
Joan of Arc.
Yep.
And that's very you. But after 1918, children were baptized with a Christian name and a historic name to show pride to their home country. So as a young girl, Anna's devotion to the Blessed Mother led her to begin using the name Marija Mary as her middle name. Oh. By the time she neared her teenage years, Anna had grown into a vivacious girl, blonde and slim. She loved to dance, and it was her relentless begging that convinced her father, August Sr., to take her to a dance hall for her 13th. Am I Irish?
Her 13th birthday.
For her 13th birthday. On the evening of July 20th, 1927, father and daughter set out from their Chicago home at... Should I give the address?
No.
Okay. So no address for you. For the famous O. Henry Ballroom, accompanied by August's friend William Wisner and Wisner's date. On their drive home at approximately 1:30 a.m., the travelers passed Resurrection Cemetery via Archer Avenue, turning east on 71st Street and then north on Harlem to 76th Street. There, the car careened and dropped into an unseen 25-foot deep railroad cut.
What?
So they were building a new railroad system. They didn't have signs up, and they dropped into it.
Oh, my God.
Anna was killed instantly.
Okay, well, that's good.
After the accident, her father, August Norquist, was subject to devastating verbal abuse, even being told that Anna's death had been God's punishment for allowing the girl to go dancing at such a young age.
Are you serious?
Yeah. In reality, the blame rested with the Chicago Streets Department, who had failed to post warning signs at the site of the cut. In fact, another death, that of Adam Levinsky, occurred at the same site the night after Anna's demise.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you think you would have learned from the night before?
Nope. So Frank discovered that at the time of Anna's death, a man named Al Churis Jr., brother-in-law to Mary Nagodi, lived across the road from the gates of Resurrection Cemetery in a large brick bungalow that still stands today. Al's father was in charge of the grave diggers and was given the house to live in as part of his pay. In the mid-1920s, grave digging was hard manual labor rewarded with low pay.
Yeah.
Strikes were common. As Resurrection was one of the main Chicago cemeteries, the elder Churis was often sent to the cemeteries of striking grave diggers to secure the bodies of the unburied. Returning to Resurrection with a corpse in a wooden box, Churis's duty was to bury it temporarily until the strike ended and the body could be permanently interred in the proper lot. Because of poor coffin construction and the lack of refrigeration, a body could not be kept long except in the ground. If the strike dragged on, identification at the time of relocation could be gruesomely difficult. You'd have to identify your decaying loved one's body. Thus reasons Frank, if the workers at St. Casimir were striking on that July morning in 1927, it is quite possible that young Anna Norquist was silently whisked to a temporary internment at Resurrection, and that a rapid decomposition rendered her unidentifiable at the time of exhumation. The result, a mislaid corpse and a restless entity.
Whew.
There's also a tale of another spirit seen wandering along the road outside the cemetery, a sneering male ghost who seems in search of something. August Norquist followed his youngest child 30 years after her death, a broken man besieged by alcohol, and blamed his grave for his daughter's demise. As Frank reasons, it wouldn't take much else to make a ghost out of this ill-fated character. A father constantly in search of his daughter who may have been buried away from her family.
Oh.
So there's also a male ghost that's outside of Resurrection Cemetery, like wandering.
Oh,
and they think it's her dad. Yeah. So for here, the stories merge almost too easily. Resurrection, Mary combing the southwest suburbs for her kin. Her father wandering the road outside her unknown destination, watching and waiting for his lost daughter. So they think she's looking for him and he's looking for her.
I can't.
I know.
I can't.
It's horrible. So many folklore scholars disregard Mary being attached to any living being entirely. Instead, they believe it is just Chicagoans' iteration of the ghost hitchhiker legend. These legends have passed from generation to generation throughout history, but the 20th century versions always follow a strikingly similar pattern. A hitchhiker, usually a young woman, is either picked up along a dark road or met at a dance, from where she is given a ride home. In the latter situation, her would-be suitor may report having danced with the young woman, finding her somewhat cold. In both situations, she gives her escort vague directions to her house, but along the way, she suddenly vanishes from the car. Sometimes the driver will have procured her address and proceeds to the house to ask whether the girl has returned safely home. Upon his arrival, he is told that the girl whom he recognizes in a photograph displayed in the home was previously killed in a car accident on the road or near the dance hall where she met her unfortunate escort. The resurrection.
I was literally going to say that's what I remember is like people like coming back to the house be like, where is Mary? Oh, that's the like seeing a picture in the hallway. Like that's her. That's her.
She's been dead for however many years. Yeah, exactly.
That's the story I remember.
The Resurrection Mary stories bear an uncanny resemblance to these widespread tales. However, the existence of so many first-hand reports raises questions about the assertions that Mary is mere folklore. So there's just too much. There's too many interactions with her to believe she's just folklore. So reports of Resurrection Mary increased significantly during renovations of the cemetery in the mid-1970s. It was also around this time that the phantom began to become more animated and adventuresome. So in 1973, Mary is believed to have shown up at least twice in 1 month at a far southwest side dance club called Harlow's. This is at 1858 South Cicero Avenue. So she's wearing a dress that looked like a faded wedding gown. Harlow's manager described her as having big spoolie curls coming down from a high forehead. She was really pale, like she had powdered her face and body. Dancing alone in an off-the-wall fashion.
Wait, and we said that Anna was from Cicero?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting, okay.
Dancing alone in this part just gets me. Dancing alone in an off-the-wall fashion.
That sounds like us.
Yeah.
In general.
She was as obvious as could be, yet despite bouncers at the door who carded all guests, no one ever saw her come in or leave.
Weird.
So that same year at Chet's Melody Lounge, an annoyed cab driver bounded in asking about his fare from a young blonde woman. The manager gave him the only answer he had: a blonde woman never came in here. A number of years later, a driver happened to be passing the cemetery when he glimpsed a young woman standing on the other side of the gates, clutching the bars.
Ah, yucky, wowie.
Yeah.
Don't like that one.
Yeah. Worried that someone had been locked inside after closing, he hurried to report the incident to the local police, who ran to rescue the reluctant prisoner. Upon their arrival, they found the cemetery deserted, but their inspection of the gates revealed not only had 2 of the bars been pried apart, but the impressions of a pair of delicate hands remained.
Ew.
So I'm going to show Tanya pictures.
No. Yeah. No, I don't like that.
So, when cemetery management saw the state of the bars, they reportedly called in officials from the Archdiocese of Chicago, who allegedly removed the imprinted bars and whisked them away. So,
how dare you?
Okay. Akin to stories of aliens and warehouses are local whisperings about the mysterious bars sitting today in some secret archdiocesan warehouse. So not long after the removal of the damaged bars, embarrassed cemetery officials installed what they called repaired bars, insisting that the bent bars had been welded back to normal and not, as many asserted, replaced with new ones. Still, some cemetery workers maintained that the bars were bent by a crew member's truck backing into the gate. The handprints were left by a worker's glove when he attempted to heat the bars with a blowtorch and bend them back into shape. In response to that claim, local believers say, yes, the cemetery tried to blowtorch and restore the bars to eradicate evidence of the special handprints, which witnesses continue to describe as the well-defined fingers of a frail female.
Weird. By the way, I do have a theory about this supposed library of forgotten items.
Oh, really?
Like mysterious items, yeah.
You can share it soon.
I will share it once I write the screenplay.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So whatever to piggyback off that, I had always heard that every time they tried to fix the bars, they would just go back to being bent with the handprints on them. Also, I don't know if I say this later, but they would continuously try and paint over those handprints.
And they would keep coming back, yeah.
And they just couldn't paint over the handprints.
I remember that.
So whatever the claims, the tale's undeniable fascination lies in viewing the cemetery gates even to this day. Yeah, so I did write that. Yes. As 2 strips of discolored metal remain in the exact spot which once bore the mysterious handprints. So in fact, and there seems to be no reason to doubt the rumor, it is said that this part of the gate refuses to take either paint or primer. Yeah.
Weird.
The result, an embarrassing but apparently ineradicable scar on the face of the cemetery and its management. Note, in the late summer of 2019, the 2 bars disappeared from the gate of Resurrection Cemetery. It is unknown at this time if they were moved by the Archdiocese or if they were stolen. They were probably stolen.
Yeah, definitely stolen.
As if this carnival weren't enough for the cemetery to bear, it was also around this time that Resurrection Mary began to experiment with new methods.
Huh?
Actually, folklorists have described a certain model of the phantom hitchhiker, which is best termed the spectral jaywalker. That is, the ghostly vision that walks or simply appears in front of a moving vehicle.
No. Very.
One such story tells of a Justice police officer who called an ambulance after hitting a woman in a bloody white dress who was wandering the road in front of the cemetery. This was a police officer.
Oh, my God.
When the paramedics arrived on the scene, there was no trace of the distressed woman. According to some stories, the officer in question went on the nationally syndicated television show That's Incredible and told of his experience.
Guys, somebody please believe me.
Before doing so, he was warned that he would be fired if he did. Notwithstanding the alleged threats, the officer told his story to network audiences and was, at least by local accounts, relieved of his duties.
Oh.
After a bizarre decade that seemed to mark the climax of her restlessness, Mary was back to her old tricks. Yet she didn't seem quite her old self. In 1989, on a blustery January night, a cab driver picked up a desolate young woman outside the old Willow Shopping Center. So that's where, for Tanya, that's where the Ashbury is.
Yeah.
And where that, like, castle.
Yeah, it's literally
places,
like, very, like, skip, hop,
literally
and
at the end
jump
of our
away.
street, basically. Despite the inclement weather, she wore a beautiful white party dress and patent leather dancing shoes. Climbing in the front seat, she made it clear that she needed to get home, motioning the driver up Archer Avenue. But this time she behaved differently. She seemed confused, unable to give lucid answers to the cabbie's polite questions. Finally, with all the clarity she could muster, the girl remarked, "The snow came early this year."
Oh, Mary.
Then, in front of a time-worn shack across the road from Resurrection, the disoriented passenger ordered, "Here!" disappearing without another sound.
Okay.
Lastly, why is Archer Avenue itself so known for endless paranormal activity?
Yeah, why?
I make the joke that it's like the first season of American Horror Story Murder House, which if you die on Archer Avenue, you stay on Archer Avenue.
Yeah.
Archer Avenue was originally one of a number of the Chicago area's old Indian trails, accordingly. So it also may be over ley lines. The points at which 2 or more ley lines meet were later termed nodal points.
Right. So I talked about this at the Highgate Cemetery as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So observation of these nodal points led some researchers to believe that such crossroads meet you at the crossroads. Then I'm gonna miss everybody. Okay. Just a little bone thugs.
Just for you. Listeners.
Observation of these nodal points, whatever.
I think it's nodal.
We're
going to go with that.
Nodal points.
You know what? Let's just say it confidently.
Nodal points.
Yes.
Led some researchers to believe that such crossroads were in fact ancient sacred sites. Many lay hunters came to assert that these nodal points, sacred sites, often host extraordinary phenomena, and that equally mystifying events also can occur along the lines that connect them. Later, Guy Underwood, a dowser, so you know those dowsing rods that give us... Okay.
Wait, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, a dowsing rod. So if you've ever seen ghost hunters that have these 2 like perpendicular metal rods, you hold them and you hold them very gently and you let them kind of turn themselves. The whole point of dowsing rods was to find water sources.
Right.
But people later figured out that they were actually discovering paranormal phenomena.
Yes.
So typically you can ask in a paranormally active place, if you had dowsing rods, you can ask yes or no questions and state like cross them if yes, put them apart if no.
Yeah.
And they'll answer them. I think dowsing rods are hokey as hell.
Sure.
Like the only time we ever used them was on the Queen Mary, which is surrounded by freaking water. Anyway, so... Guy Underwood, a dowser, claimed to have discovered that these points contained underground springs, which seemed to create patterns of spiral lines of force around them. He also found straight lines of the same force, which he termed holy lines, passing through these sites. I don't know what any of this means. Maybe you guys do. So occult investigator Stephen Jenkins speculated that poltergeist activity and other haunting phenomena may actually take its energy from nodal points.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I wonder if, like,
well,
the aspect of water has anything to do with it.
Any type of natural source tends to drive paranormal activity. So earth, wind, fire, water.
Naturally.
Water is one of the biggest elements that feed paranormal activity for some reason. So like-minded observers have wondered if ancient cultures, including Native Americans, harbored an awareness of these energies and utilized them as sacred paths and sites for their ritual activity. This goes on, but basically there's a lot of water in ancient grounds surrounding Archer Avenue that can give energy to paranormal activity, and water is a big source of that energy. Yes. And that's it.
Holy
I got through
cow.
it. So let me get through my sources and then we can discuss. Obviously, the Resurrection Mary Wikipedia, a ChicagoReader.com article called Meet Resurrection Mary, the Ghost of Archer Avenue, a ChicagoHauntings.com article called Resurrection Mary, the Queen of Haunted Archer Avenue. I'm going to burp again. No, I'm not. Okay. The Lineup.com article called Resurrection Cemetery and the Ghost of Resurrection Mary, and a YouTube video that I'll post on our Patreon about Resurrection Mary.
Oof. Yeah. That's a big one. That
was a big one because there's so much. Because like you have to I can't just tell you the myth and the legend. I have to tell you all of the
theories.
I
didn't know the theories, so that's like really interesting to hear. I definitely believe the
Ananorcus one.
I think that one feels. I agree that one feels very
the most plausible,
accurate.
Yeah,
I just remember hearing about it growing up all the time. I don't even remember who told me at first, but it
was probably me.
I just know that it existed.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, anytime I would drive home from the city, and I would always exit Archer Avenue because it was the closest exit to our home. So anytime I would exit off Archer Avenue, I would just be riddled with
anxiety.
So much anxiety until I got home. Not even when I turned on, because we like to call it the Triangle of Paranormal.
Yes.
Because it's like German Church Road, Archer Avenue.
Yeah, Willow Springs Road. It's just all like messed up. I told you about my prom night occurrence on Willow Springs Road, right? With the balloon.
Yes, you did tell us on
for the listeners. You did tell us. I did tell it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We did discuss
the floating balloon in front of the cart that looked like
I don't remember what episode it was, but if you're a new listener, just keep listening.
It's just a whole lot of paranormies. Yeah.
Also, if you're a new listener, we do discuss a lot of our hometown lore on this show. So, welcome.
Always so much anxiety. I know exactly what you're talking about because every time I was driving home from the city, I would probably go 80 down Archer.
I don't have those feels either, but I had those feels
to get off that road.
There's also remember that really creepy house off of Archer Avenue? I have the address.
Yeah.
Saved.
That's like abandoned.
Yes.
Yeah.
No kidding. It looks like the Haunting of Hill House.
It's messed up. And I never knew what street it was on. Like I didn't know its address, but I could always find it.
Yeah, weird. I saved the address because Avi.
It was down some random like unmarked street and I could always find it.
Yeah.
It's by that little gas station. Yep. Oh, it was so creepy. I mean, I've passed Resurrection Cemetery a ton.
Yeah, same. Especially on my way to hockey games because it was
because it's also by Bethany Cemetery.
Yes, and it was like it was a shortcut to get off the highway
to
and
United,
sneak to the United Center where the hockey games were.
Yeah, little tiny, very quick side note about Archer Avenue. My mom had a ghost paranormal experience in her car on Archer Avenue, but it didn't have anything to do with Mary. It was actually her grandmother.
Yeah.
My mom's mother was in the hospital, and she was driving home really late at night from the hospital, and she was really worried that her mom was passing. And she was alone on Archer Avenue. It's pitch black. There's no street lamps on Archer Avenue, just to make it worse. And it's literally woods on both sides. Just horrible. I can't, it's very, very, very dark and depressing. And there's literally like so many of those roadside crosses where people had died from car accidents.
Right.
All along it. It's just not a fun feeling. But she was driving home from the hospital, worried her mom was going to die, thought she saw headlights in her rearview mirror, looked in her rearview mirror, and clear as day saw her grandmother, so her mom's mom, sitting in her back seat, smiling at her.
Yeah.
And this did not scare my mother. No. This made her think, oh, my mom's going to be okay, because her mom came to, like, comfort me and, like, smile at me to tell me it's not time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. My grandma lived for, like, 10 more years after that, but she was fine.
But yeah, I remember like a lot of your family lived, like you had to take Archer Avenue to get to their home. Yeah.
I had to take Archer Avenue to get to basically everybody's home.
Yeah, because your aunt and your grandparents' house was to take Archer Avenue.
Had to.
Which we've discussed on this show numerous times.
Yeah, my grandparents' demonic house.
That Bee's brother lived in.
Yeah.
That you've all heard that episode.
Yeah. So that was a doozy.
Yeah, we had some good ones today.
We did it. We did it. Oh, you have an assistant in your lap.
Yeah, the assistant is purring very loudly, so you're welcome for the cute purr sounds, if you can hear them.
You can't. Maybe you should hold her up to the mic.
She stopped purring.
Yeah, she stopped purring. She's like, not touching.
She's like, no, just let me lay here. Oh, man. So should we shift? Do you want to tell me something wonderful?
Sure. Since the last time you talked to me, I took my niece to the Harry Styles concert.
Oh, yes. That's a good one.
So it was, I couldn't tell you anything that Harry did. It was the least I paid attention to Harry Styles ever in a concert ever, because my 12-year-old niece was the cutest thing on the face of this planet.
Yeah.
She was so excited. And it's just for me, like, concerts and music, I know a lot of people and a lot of my family members think I'm, like, so ridiculous about it. But for me, it's, like, marked all of my good childhood memories. And I didn't have very many good childhood memories. Mm-hmm. And Nadia is currently going through a tough time with her family. And I would have done anything for her to have a good memory with her family. So me and her mom took her to Harry. It was her first concert ever. I've probably been trying to take her to a concert since I think she was 6.
Yeah.
I tried to take her to One Direction a couple times. It didn't work out, but this did. I tried to take her to the last Harry Styles concert, but her anxiety freaked her out and she couldn't go. She cried several times. She was snuggling with me. She was dancing and screaming. And when we left, she was literally jumping up and down and saying it was the best night of her life.
Success.
It was absolutely a success.
Yes.
And I can't wait to do it again.
That's a super wonderful.
And another wonderful is, we don't say directly who, but you all know at this point that, Tanya's dad is a person of interest to sports. And he has a banner at the United Center. And we all had a moment where I pointed it out to them and they were all taking pictures of it and we're super proud of your dad. And it was just like, it's always a nice moment at the United Center to look up and like see that and be really proud of your dad.
Yeah, it's really cool. I still really appreciate it when I go to.
I think still like one of our biggest how wonderfuls in life ever was her dad, his intro song, the songs they always put with his like montages, was Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve. Mm-hmm. And we went to Coldplay and we had 3rd row tickets at the United Center. We were literally like on the ice.
Yeah.
We kept like sticking our finger through the mats they put over the ice for concerts to touch the ice.
Yes.
And just above the stage was Tanya's dad's banner. And the lead singer of the Verve was opening for Coldplay and he sung Bittersweet Symphony and we had an emo moment.
Yeah, we had some tears.
We had some tears listening to the song that was dedicated to your dad.
So cool.
Under your dad's Hall of Fame banner.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Very cool.
So yeah, that was another nice little moment.
I like that. That's very wonderful.
Yeah. What's your how wonderful?
Oh man, mine is, I don't know if it's wonderful, but I think it's wonderful.
Okay.
We had discussed a little bit on the last episode about my union and the fact that we were potentially voting on a strike.
Yeah.
Well, that vote happened.
Yeah,
and
sure
it was a huge success.
Sure was.
IATSE is the union I'm a part of, and if you're unaware, if you haven't heard the last episode, IATSE is the union that represents basically all crew members in film and television. They represent costumes, hair and makeup, camera department, myself, who works in the production office as a coordinator. They represent Grips Electric, like literally
everything.
Editors, everything.
My favorite, the best boy.
The best boy, So there is a role in film and television called the best boy,
I want to be the best boy.
which exists in Grip and Electric Department.
I wonder if it's ever a best girl.
Sometimes best
But
boys
they're
are
called
girl.
the best boy
They're called
anyway.
best boy.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What's your job? I'm the best boy.
That's your job. But anyway, so we had a huge turnout. 90% of the union voted,
Nice.
and 98% voted yes to authorize a strike.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a fan of television and a fan of filmmaking, don't be surprised if your favorite movies and your favorite TV shows that are currently filming don't come out for a while, because
They have no crew.
Here's the thing. We aren't going on strike yet. Maybe we will have authorized a strike by the time this comes out. I don't know. But currently where we're at is IATSE is back in negotiations with the AMPTP, which essentially is like the studios and the producers that represent the studios. And again, what we are asking for is rest periods, a livable wage, and
How dare you?
benefits essentially for streaming purposes. So like basically if you work on a streaming show, your benefits get cut off because the AMPTP believe that it's new media, which means that they believe that it's temporary and it isn't going to last when Netflix is winning freaking Emmys. That's not true.
Right.
So anyway, we're fed up. We're tired. We want our lives back.
We're not gonna take it.
So we are very ready to go on strike. We don't want to go on strike. We would like our needs met. So if you want to support us, please just create awareness. You can follow IA_stories on Instagram to hear why we are willing to authorize a strike.
Wow.
So stay tuned. But right now, I'm really, really honored to be a part of IATSE, and I'm really proud to be a part of IATSE. And I feel really like emo about it because I realized like I'm not alone in this feeling. Yeah. And I feel really supported and like unified.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels really cool.
It's nice to see, like, especially when it's like people that you look up to and that you want to work with eventually openly supporting you when it doesn't necessarily affect them. Yeah.
So DGA, which is the Directors Guild, and SAG, which is the Actors Guild, will walk off sets in solidarity with IATSE. So it's going to be all the crew, all the actors, and all the directors and assistant directors walking off stage.
Producers are going to be like,
literally everything is going.
Producers.
Literally everything is going to shut down.
Yeah,
and even a lot of producers are part of DGA.
Yeah, so they'll walk.
So they'll also have to walk. Basically, the reason why is they don't want to cross picket lines.
Right.
So because we're going to have to picket.
Right.
Outside of studios when and if we go on strike. So
I was happy because I was listening to Unhappy Hour, Matt Bellassai's podcast, and they have a segment at the end that's called Do Better White People, where they highlight just a source that needs attention, basically. In their last episode, they highlighted IATSE, which I thought was nice, because typically it's like, you know, a minority or something like something along those lines. But they brought awareness to IATSE.
That's great.
Because I know they have tons of listeners.
Thanks on Happy Hour.
Thanks, Matt Bellassai.
I mean, the thing that's interesting is like, so my position in the production office is essentially on the front lines of this. Me, like my position, the script coordinators and the writer's assistants. Yeah. I'd say like the three of our positions are on the front lines of this, because we're the ones that are making chump change and being asked to work
a ton of other people's jobs.
A ton of hours. We're expected to meet requirements that are way above our pay grades. Yeah. So I would definitely be pleased to see the minimum rate go up. Yeah. That's one of the negotiating. One of the things that they're trying to negotiate for us. So, you know, I would be very, very pleased.
Fingers crossed, because I've watched you be treated subhuman for 10 years and I'm quite over it.
Yeah. So anyway,
I can imagine you're quite over it.
I'm just excited to have the power. That's pretty cool.
Got the power.
So yeah, that's pretty wonderful. Do you want to tell me your song of the week?
Let me look.
In the meantime, if you're not sure what yours is, I'll tell what mine is.
Go ahead.
Mine is a song called Lonely Like Me by Kevin Garrett. I'm a big fan of
I
Kevin
saw
Garrett. I'm also going to shout out Alessia Cara, just came out with a whole new album.
Mm-hmm.
I really like her. She's a good little Canadian gem. She has a song on the album that I really, really like called I Miss You, Don't Call Me.
Okay.
That may or may not be about Shawn Mendes.
Yuck.
That's my theory.
Yeah. Yuck. Oh, okay. So, Brandy Carlisle.
Oh, dropped a whole album.
Dropped a whole album. She is folk queen.
Also fantastic.
So fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Broken Horses.
Okay. I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, Broken Horses is probably one of my favorites. Also, This Time Tomorrow is really good.
And what would you say is the horror film you would recommend in the month of October?
Yeah, I thought about this, and I'm going to go with Funny Games. The remake,
okay.
Mostly because I haven't seen the original.
Okay.
The remake with Michael Pitt and Brady Corbet and Naomi Watts. It is, okay, so if I had to describe it, if I had to pitch it, a extremely wealthy, white, privileged, annoying-ass family go to their second home, their vacation home, and they get accosted by two men who seem to be one of them come into their home and wreak absolute havoc.
Yeah, start torturing them.
On this family.
It's
psychological torture, physical torture.
Wild movie.
It's wild. It will mess with your head. It's very disturbing.
It's a great film as well. If you're a fan of filmmaking, it's really well done.
And if you like A24 horror, I would put this in the A24 horror.
Yeah, it's not an A24 film.
It's not, but it fits in
the genre. Yeah.
Yeah. So Funny Games.
Yeah. Okay, mine is a really fun. You're probably gonna like scream with joy.
Oh, what?
Ready or Not.
Yes, I love Ready or Not.
Ready or Not is my.
So
I think it's like
fun.
my top recommendation right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna recommend it early in October, so you can definitely watch it ASAP.
Yeah.
What's great about this movie is it's horror comedy.
Yeah.
So it's so much fun to watch, but it is so raunchy. It's so
gruesome.
raunchy. It's so gruesome, but it's so entertaining.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so well written.
Essentially, it's about a woman who marries into a family that has a ritual.
Yeah.
That is very dark and disturbing.
Yeah.
And you'll just have to watch it to understand what we're talking about. But it is a spectacular horror film. It is. We were really, really pleasantly excited.
We were having so much fun watching that.
We were literally shouting. Like, we were engaged.
Yeah. Which is my favorite thing about horror movies is like when I get engaged with them and it's like fun to watch them with friends.
Yeah, we posted about it, but we watched Truth or Dare last night, which was really bad.
Yeah.
But we were definitely
there's two
engaged.
Truth or Dares. There's the Blumhouse Truth or Dare, and then there's the Netflix Truth or Dare.
Yeah, no, Netflix.
The Blumhouse one is the one where their like faces distort and they look weird and Lucy Hale is in it. That's not the one we watched. We watched the one where nobody you've ever heard of in your entire life is in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on Netflix, and it's the one where it's like, if you don't do the dare does you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the theme of it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun to watch. Yeah, it was so bad it was good. That's what it was. We also watched Creep.
Yeah, Creep was really good.
Yeah, that was like a found footage type.
Yeah.
Kind of like Blair Witch type. But there's really only like, two characters.
Like Chronicle, but horror.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen
Mark
Chronicle.
Duplass is in it.
Chronicle's like, have you ever seen Chronicle?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's so good.
Never heard of it.
It's a great movie. It's not a horror movie.
Oh.
But it is so good. It was one of like the original found footage movies. Besides like Blair Witch. It's like Blair Witch, and then a few years later they did Chronicle, which was an interesting, like, I don't know if I want to call it sci-fi.
Blair Witch.
But like teen sci-fi drama.
You loved Blair Witch.
Yeah, but I was also really terrified by Blair Witch.
Now you can hear her purring. Like big time.
She's so happy.
Anyway. You were fascinated. I think that was like your baby filmmaker brain was really liking Blair Witch. I hated Blair Witch. The end where they're standing in the corners, forget that.
One of my friends from work, Trenton, who we've shouted out early on in the podcast, and I'm going to shout it out again now that we have a few more listeners. He has this really amazing book that's called Rest in Peace, Little Monster. You should check it out. It's really cool. He's still making copies of it, and it's basically like an art piece, but it's really neat.
Yeah.
Anyway, he and I were talking about, he was wearing a shirt that was like, he was wearing a faculty t-shirt today.
The faculty.
But it's just the high school. So it's like really, really
subtle. But you picked up on it?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But when he pointed it out, I was like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about telling Anthony, another one of our friends, to watch it tonight. So Anthony had never seen it before.
Anthony's never seen the faculty. Oh, man, I wish I could watch Anthony watch the faculty.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So I'm going to ask him if he watched it.
Remember when we used to watch it on USA when they were, like, censoring it?
I literally...
Flip the spit. We quote that all the time. While Tanya's coughing.
No, yeah, we quote that all the time. I literally quoted that today.
Flip the spit.
I literally was telling that exact story to Trenton and my other coworkers today.
I don't know if everywhere has USA. I'm sure they do, but they used to put movies up, and they, instead of just like bleeping out or silencing the sound or whatever when they would swear, they would dub over it. And it was always the worst. So they did the faculty, and Josh Hartnett swears nonstop in the faculty. And he has this one moment where he's all cool, and he's driving his cool car, and he drives up to a roadblock, and he goes, fuck this shit, and like throws his cigarette out, and we were always like, it's so hot. Fuck this shit, oh my God.
What a sexy Josh Hartnett.
But in the USA version, he goes, flip the spit. And it was the funniest thing
we
ever.
still quote that. I literally told exactly the story. And we also had a VHS recording before the DVD was purchased from the USA recording. So we had the recording
Flip
of it that was
Spit.
Flip the Spit. Anyway.
Oh, man. We watched that
Faculty.
so much. Young Elijah Wood, Sean Hattasey, who you later worked with.
This is like a joint recommendation.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen
watch
the faculty, please watch it now that we're just on this
Definitely.
one.
And that's like an Aliens horror movie.
It's good.
Yeah. And
It's
I
so
enjoyed.
good. Yeah. Oh, we should pick for next week.
Yeah, we should pick. Okay. I got notorious serial killers.
Oh boy.
Okay, this is exciting.
Paranormal murder?
Do you not get it?
No, what does that mean?
All right, so paranormal murder is like a death that is attributed to the paranormal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you, boo. I got you. So paranormal things murdering people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh boy. You're welcome, listeners of next week.
Next week is going to be a doozy.
Okay, so, the spiel.
HowAwfulPodcast.com for all of the podcasting needs.
All of the social medias.
Yeah, it's where our merch is as well.
Not on social media, but on our website.
Up, all the way up. Just one size up. Just one.
Yes.
We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, on YouTube, we're
Facebook,
TikTok, How Awful Podcast, and all of those places. If you want to support the podcast, if you like listening to us and you like listening to us sponsor free, then go to howawfulpodcast.patreon.com.
Nope. Patreon.com/howawfulpodcast.
There it is. Go there and you can support me and Tanya. Honestly, just subscribing to that is saying you appreciate the effort we're putting in and you enjoy our company and you would like to give us a few coins to show that appreciation. And with that, you get a little extra content. You get a bonus video. We went to the Roosevelt. We still have never posted that on YouTube. Nope. So that's still Patreon exclusive. We plan on doing a haunted pub crawl. That will be a Patreon exclusive. We have a bunch of blog posts up already. As
for
well.
Every single episode that exists. So please check it out.
As well as like some... Izzy's so loud.
Some bonus material.
Some bonus materials, like if we reference a documentary or a YouTube clip or whatever that's there, our sources, some of them are there. It's just a night. You get some bonus stuff.
Yeah. So come check us out.
And it's a nice little community.
You can also email us.
Yeah, that part's really important. HowAwfulPodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Tell us your everything. Tell us your paranormal stories. Tell us your alien stories. Tell us your hometown murders.
Your hometown lore.
Anything.
We've got so much, so we know you've got
What are you going to be for Halloween? Tell us that.
Oh, yeah. What are you going to be?
If you have been cut off from people for 2 years and you have exciting news that you don't know who to share it with, email it to us. We'll be excited for you.
Yeah, we want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Who are you?
I'm Bee.
I'm Tanya Lee.
What are we?
How
awful Meet you at the crossroads, crossroads, crossroads. Meet you at the crossroads, crossroads, crossroads. And I'm gonna miss everybody. And I'm gonna miss everybody.
No, she wants to snug.
Everybody. And I'm gonna miss everybody. As always, we've been Bee and Tanya Lee. Our logo was created by MJ Savard, and our theme music courtesy of Nikki Lou.